She hadn't heard her sister's voice in 547 days. Not a call on her birthday. Not a text when their mother went to the hospital. Nothing. Just the quiet, immovable wall of a blocked number, a blank profile photo in the family group chat, and an absence that felt like a held breath no one else in the family seemed willing to acknowledge. The Thanksgiving fight. That's what everyone called it. As if it were a single argument, a misunderstanding, a thing that happens between siblings and eventually blows over. Her mother kept saying, "Give it time." Her father said, "You know how Lydia is." And she believed them. She apologized 6 times. 6 separate messages sent through the one channel that still worked, their mother's forwarded texts. Each one carefully worded. Each one owning whatever mysterious wrong she had supposedly committed. No reply ever came. She started to construct a version of herself that made sense of the silence. Maybe she had been too sharp that Thanksgiving. Maybe her tone had been wrong. Maybe she was, as Lydia had once told her during a fight in their 20s, exhausting to love. The phrase burrowed into her and stayed. She replayed the dinner in her head so many times the memory started to degrade. Her sister's face across the table, the wine, some comment about their parents' finances she now couldn't even recall clearly. Whatever it was, it had apparently been unforgivable. So she did the only thing left to do. She carried the guilt like a stone in her pocket and got on with her life. And then, 2 weeks ago, Tuesday night, she is sitting on her couch in the exhausted quiet of 11 p.m., mindlessly scrolling, when a notification slides down from the top of her screen. A message request from a name she hasn't seen in almost 3 years. Sam Okonkwo, her sister's ex-husband. The man Lydia divorced 2 years before the Thanksgiving fight. The man who, during the divorce, Lydia had described as cold, emotionally absent, and, her exact words, incapable of real connection. The family had circled the wagons. They'd believed every word. Sam had been quietly erased from all gatherings, all stories, all photographs. The message preview shows exactly 4 words. She does this to everyone. She stares at the screen. Her thumb hovers. Something in her chest tightens. Not dread, not hope. Something more primal. The feeling of standing at the edge of a conversation you cannot unhear. She opens it. There is no greeting. No, "How have you been?" Sam has typed nothing beyond those 4 words. What he has sent, what stops her breath, is a forwarded thread. The timestamp at the top is from 8 weeks ago. The participants are Sam and a woman named Priya, whose name she doesn't recognize. But the content is her story. Not similar, not coincidental, identical in architecture. Priya is describing a close friend who suddenly cut her off after what she believed was a minor disagreement. She describes apologizing obsessively, getting silence, watching this friend tell mutual acquaintances a version of events that painted Priya as unstable. And then, just when Priya had accepted the narrative that she was the problem, she discovered something. She wasn't the first. Sam's reply to Priya is short. "Read this, and then call the other women in her life." And then he forwards a thread that is clearly from Sam's own history. A conversation with a woman named Yara, then a woman named Chloe, then a man named Dante who had been Lydia's business partner. The dates span nearly a decade. The language shifts slightly from person to person, but the bones of the story never change. A relationship that was intense and intimate and then, suddenly, over, with the other person left holding full blame and no explanation. She scrolls and scrolls. Her phone screen feels radioactive in her hand. Sam has been quietly collecting these for years. Not as revenge, not as evidence for a case, just because. Because when you are erased by someone who insists you were the whole problem, you start to wonder if it's true. And then you start to look. She reads every word. The women describe the same confusion she has been drowning in, the same certainty that they had done something wrong. The same precise phrase, exhausting to love, appearing in Chloe's recounting of her final conversation with Lydia. The same pattern of blocked numbers and rewritten history, and family members who shrugged and said, "You know how she is." She counts. In Sam's thread, there are 7 people. 7 distinct individuals who each believed, with absolute conviction, that they alone had failed Lydia. That they alone were too much, too difficult, too whatever it was that justified being discarded. 7 people. And that's just the ones Sam managed to find. She sits in the dark of her living room long after her phone screen goes black. The stone she has been carrying in her pocket for 18 months is not guilt. It is a lie someone else placed there. And the person who placed it has been doing this, carefully, methodically, without leaving fingerprints, for years. She does not sleep that night, because the question that replaces the guilt is much, much bigger. If her Thanksgiving apology never stood a chance, if the fight was never the point, then what was the point? And what happens to Lydia's current circle of friends, the ones who think they are safe, the ones who haven't yet said the wrong thing at the wrong dinner? She looks at the message from Sam again. She does this to everyone. And she starts to type. She types back at 2:47 in the morning. Not the careful, diplomatic message she would have sent 18 months ago. Not the self-editing, blame-absorbing language she had trained herself to use around anything involving her sister. She writes, "I need to understand what you know," and hits send before the part of her brain that worries about politeness can intervene. Sam responds in under 3 minutes. He has been waiting. The call happens the next night. She sits in her parked car outside her own apartment because she does not want her husband to overhear this conversation and ask questions she cannot yet answer. Sam's voice on the phone is calm, measured. Not the coldness Lydia described, but the careful pace of a man who has spent years being told he was the problem and has finally stopped arguing. He tells her about Yara first. Yara was Lydia's best friend before she was Sam's wife. They met in graduate school. Yara described Lydia as the most magnetic person she had ever encountered, the kind of woman who made you feel like you were the only interesting person in the room. For 2 years, they were inseparable. Lydia knew Yara's coffee order, her family trauma, the exact thing to say when Yara's anxiety spiraled. Yara told people Lydia was the sister she never had. Then Yara set a boundary, a small one. She told Lydia she couldn't make a trip they had planned because of a work deadline. Within 6 weeks, Lydia had stopped answering texts. Within 3 months, Yara discovered that Lydia had told their entire friend group a version of events in which Yara had been dismissive, ungrateful, and, there it was, exhausting. Mutual friends chose sides. Yara was uninvited from a wedding she was supposed to be in. By the time she understood what was happening, the narrative was already solid. She thought she was the only one, Sam says. For 6 years, she thought she was the only one. Then Chloe, a coworker. Same architecture, intense closeness, rapid intimacy, then a single moment of perceived rejection. Chloe couldn't attend Lydia's birthday dinner, followed by total erasure and a story that painted Chloe as a user who had been taking advantage of Lydia's generosity all along. Chloe was fired within the year. Lydia had been quietly telling their manager about Chloe's attitude problems for months before the cutoff. Then Dante, the business partner. Lydia proposed they open a boutique together. 3 months in, Dante noticed discrepancies in the books. He asked a question. One question. Lydia dissolved the partnership within a week, accused him of financial paranoia, and told their shared investors he had been attempting to control her. Dante lost $40,000 and his reputation in the same quarter. "What you're describing," she says into the phone, her voice barely steady, is that my sister has a system. Sam is quiet for a moment. That's exactly what I'm describing. She hears him exhale. When he speaks again, the measured calm cracks just slightly. The divorce was the same pattern. I just didn't have the framework to see it yet. I set a boundary. I asked her to stop going through my phone. One boundary. And suddenly, I was controlling, emotionally abusive, incapable of real connection. She told my own mother that I made her feel unsafe. I spent 2 years in therapy trying to figure out if I was a monster. He pauses. I wasn't. I was just the next one. She sits with the phone pressed against her ear and feels something shift. The Thanksgiving fight. The one her family has spent 18 months treating as the singular defining rupture. She replays it now with this new information humming in the background, and suddenly the sequence looks nothing like a fight. Lydia had been mid-sentence, holding court about something. A vacation, maybe, or a minor slight from a coworker, and she had interrupted. Not maliciously, just a question, a gentle pushback. Are you sure she meant it that way? That was it. That was the boundary. A single moment of not fully endorsing Lydia's version of reality, and the machinery of erasure began turning before dessert was served. Now she is not just sitting with the revelation that her sister did this to others. She is sitting with the revelation that the thing she has been apologizing for, the thing she has spent 547 days flagellating herself over, was never a crime. It was a trigger. And the trigger was not her failure. The trigger was Lydia's design. She thinks about the family group chat, the relatives who still mention Lydia's version of events in careful, diplomatic language. You know how your sister is. She feels things deeply. Maybe you could try reaching out again. She thinks about her mother forwarding her apologies and getting no reply, and somehow interpreting the silence as her daughter's fault. She thinks about the current circle, the friends Lydia has now, the ones who still post photos together, who call her generous and magnetic, and the best listener I've ever known. The ones who have no idea that the clock is already ticking on their relationship, that the boundary they don't yet know they'll set is already being anticipated, that the story they will be cast in has already been outlined. And she thinks about Sam, the man her family discarded on Lydia's word, sitting alone for years, quietly collecting the receipts, building a map of destruction that no one else had bothered to assemble. When did you start finding them? She asks. After the divorce, Sam says. I reached out to Yara because I needed to know if it was me, and she said something I'll never forget. He pauses. She said, "You're not crazy. She does this to everyone, but no one ever compares notes." So I started comparing notes. The implication lands like a door locking. Sam has not just been collecting stories, he has been building something. And by replying to his message, by taking this call, she has just become part of it. She looks out the windshield of her parked car. The street is dark. Her apartment window glows 2 floors up, her husband still unaware, her guilt still sitting in her chest, but changing shape now, hardening into something else entirely. How many are there? She asks. Total. Sam doesn't hesitate. 15 that I've confirmed, but that's just the ones who are willing to talk. 15. And those are only the ones Sam could find, the ones who left a trail, the ones who were still reachable. How many others are out there, still carrying the stone she has been carrying, still believing they were uniquely, singularly, fundamentally exhausting to love? She closes her eyes. What does she do when people find each other? She asks. The silence on the other end of the line stretches just long enough to become an answer. She doesn't tell her husband right away. Not because she's hiding something, she tells herself, but because she needs to know the shape of the thing before she describes it to someone else. The words need to leave her mouth already structured, already irrefutable. What she does instead is call Priya. Priya lives in Atlanta. Priya has never met her. Priya answers the phone with the guarded tone of a woman who has been contacted by strangers before and has learned to be careful. But when she says her name, when she says, "I'm Lydia's sister," the guard drops so fast she can almost hear it hit the floor. "Oh," Priya says, and then, softer, "Oh, you too?" They talk for 2 hours. Priya's story is not identical to hers. That is somehow worse. The variations confirm the system. Priya was not a family member. She was a colleague who became a friend. Same velocity, same intensity. Within 6 months, Priya was Lydia's emergency contact, her +1, the person she called at 2 a.m. when she couldn't sleep. Priya felt chosen. Priya felt special. Then Priya got engaged to a man Lydia didn't approve of. She didn't say she didn't approve. She just started making small comments. "He seems a little dismissive of your career, don't you think? Are you sure he's not threatened by you?" "I'm only asking because I love you." When Priya pushed back, gently, the way you push back against someone you believe has your best interests at heart, Lydia went quiet. And then Priya started hearing from mutual friends. Apparently she had changed. Apparently she was pushing everyone away for this man. Apparently Lydia was worried about her. Very worried. You know how Priya gets when she's in a new relationship. She just loses herself completely. The language was soft. The effect was a scalpel. Within 4 months, Priya's professional network had been quietly poisoned against her. 2 speaking invitations disappeared. A mentor stopped returning her calls. And the entire time, Lydia was telling people how much she missed the old Priya, the one before all this. "I lost a book deal," Priya says. "I didn't connect it to her for almost a year. I thought I was just unlucky. I thought I had done something wrong." She hears herself in Priya's voice, the exact cadence of self-doubt, the reflexive assumption that the rupture must have been earned. This is the detail that lodges in her chest and stays. Lydia had gotten there first. Her sister does not just cut people out. She prepares the ground before they even know they've been marked. She plants the story in advance. She seeds the narrative in half a dozen ears, casual and careful and utterly deniable. "I'm a little worried about her." So that when the target tries to tell their side, the audience has already been primed to hear it as instability. She thinks about her own experience. The relatives who still mention Lydia with that particular tilt of the head. "You know your sister feels things deeply." The family group chat that went quiet when she tried to explain. The way her own mother, who loves her, still uses the word misunderstanding. Lydia had gotten there first. Of course she had. She hangs up with Priya and stares at her phone for a long time. Sam's thread is still open. The names, 15 of them. Each one a person who believed, who was made to believe, that their exile was singular and deserved. She opens the message again and starts counting backwards. The timeline sprawls. Dante was 8 years ago. Yara was 11. Before Yara, there was a college roommate Sam hasn't been able to locate. Before that, a cousin who stopped coming to family gatherings and no one could explain why. The cousin's name is familiar. She remembers being 12 years old and hearing adults say it's a shame about Miriam, in the hushed tones reserved for people who had somehow failed. She was 12. Even then, Lydia was already writing the scripts. She thinks about the question she asked Sam on the phone. What does she do when people find each other? Sam's silence had been an answer, but now she understands the shape of that answer. Sam isn't just collecting stories for validation. Sam is building a weapon. And the weapon works best when it is wielded by someone Lydia cannot dismiss. Someone inside the family. Someone who was there. Someone whose testimony cannot be waved away as the bitterness of an ex-husband or the jealousy of a former friend. She is the sister. She is the one who apologized 6 times. She is the one the family knows was genuinely, visibly destroyed by the estrangement. She has been carrying the evidence of her own innocence for 18 months without knowing it. Because everyone saw her suffer. Everyone watched her try. And now she has the thread. She opens her contacts, scrolls to a number she hasn't called since before the silence began. Her mother. Her thumb hovers. Because the next call is not about understanding what happened. The next call is about making sure everyone else understands too. And once that call is made, there is no unmaking it. Lydia's system has worked for years because no one has ever assembled the full picture and presented it to the people whose opinions Lydia actually cares about. She presses dial. The phone rings. Once, twice. Her mother answers on the 4th ring. "You're up late?" Not a question, an observation with something underneath it. That particular mix of warmth and wariness that has colored every conversation since Thanksgiving. Her mother loves her. Her mother also wishes, desperately, that this whole thing would just resolve itself without anyone having to say anything difficult. "I need to tell you something about Lydia." The pause on the other end is barely a second, but she feels it. The instinctive brace. The preparation for another round of a conversation her mother has been trying not to have for 18 months. "Honey, I really think if you just—" "Mom, stop. This isn't about the fight." She tells her mother to sit down. She hears the soft creak of the kitchen chair, the one her mother has had since before she was born. The one with the worn cushion that has absorbed decades of family phone calls and difficult news. She pictures her mother in her nightgown, the lamp on the counter casting the same warm light it always has. And then she begins. She does not start with Sam. She knows better. Sam has been cast as the villain in this family for years. If she leads with Sam, her mother's defenses will go up before the first sentence is finished. The architecture of Lydia's story about Sam is too well built. Instead, she starts with Priya, a woman in Atlanta, a friend of Lydia's from work, someone their family has never met. She describes Priya's story, the friendship, the intensity, the engagement, the small pushback, the quiet professional destruction that followed. She uses the exact language Priya used. She does not editorialize. Then she describes Chloe, the coworker who couldn't attend a birthday dinner, the firing that followed. Then Dante, the business partner, the missing money. Then Yara, the best friend from graduate school, the wedding invitation that disappeared. Then Miriam, the cousin, the one the family already knows about, the one everyone agreed was a shame, the one no one ever asked directly what happened. She does not say, and they all have the same story. She lets her mother hear it, one after another. 15 names, 11 years. The same architecture, the same trigger, the same aftermath. Her mother is silent for a long time. "That's—" Her mother's voice trails off. When it returns, it is quieter. "That's a lot of people. There are more I haven't talked to yet. How do you know all this?" Now she tells her about Sam, not as the villain, as the archivist. The man who, after being erased by the person he married, started quietly finding the others, not for revenge, not for money, because he needed to know if it was him. And when he discovered it wasn't, when he discovered the pattern, he kept going. He kept finding people who believed they were the only one. "And he found me," she says, "because I'm one of them. I'm just the most recent one." Her mother exhales. She knows that exhale. It is the sound of a woman rearranging furniture in a room she has lived in for years. Everything is being moved. Nothing will fit the same way. "But the Thanksgiving fight," her mother starts, "was never a fight. I asked a question. I didn't fully agree with something she said. That was the boundary. That was the crime. And Mom, she had already told you the story before I called you that night, didn't she? It is not a question. It is the thing she has been assembling in the dark of her living room for 3 days. The timeline. Lydia stormed out of Thanksgiving dinner at 9:15. By 10:30, when she called her mother already sounded careful, already choosing words. Your sister is very upset. She says you attacked her. She says you've been building toward this for a while. She had assumed her mother was just repeating what Lydia said. She had not considered the possibility that Lydia had called her mother first, set the narrative first, prepared the ground. Her mother stops. She called me from the car. She was crying. She said you'd humiliated her in front of everyone. She said, what did she say? The silence that follows is different from the others. It is not processing. It is shame. She said you'd been jealous of her since childhood, that this was inevitable, that you'd been waiting for a moment to tear her down in front of the family. The words land in her chest and stay there. Jealous, inevitable, waiting. The story had already been planted before she even got home, before she even understood that an apology was expected. The machinery was already in motion. And you believed her. It is not an accusation. It is a realization. Her mother believed Lydia because Lydia's stories are always coherent. They always make the target look unstable, look jealous, look like someone who has been hiding their true motives. The stories are airtight. They have to be. They are the product of years of refinement. I didn't have any other information, her mother says. And then, quieter, I should have asked you first. The apology is small, but it is real. She takes a breath. She tells her mother about the thread Sam sent, the 15 names, the years. She tells her mother that Lydia has been doing this since she was old enough to understand that stories are power, that the person who controls the narrative controls who gets believed, who gets invited, who gets erased. What do we do? Her mother asks. And there it is, the shift. We. She tells her mother what she needs. She needs the family group chat. She needs a conversation that includes the relatives who have been hearing Lydia's version for 18 months. She needs her mother, the matriarch, the one whose opinion carries weight, to sit beside her while she presents what she has found. Not to attack Lydia, not to punish her, to make the pattern visible, to make it impossible for anyone in the family to claim they didn't know. Because Lydia's system works only in the dark. It depends on isolation, on the belief that her targets will never compare notes, never assemble the full picture, never present a united front. She has been counting on silence. And now, the silence is about to break. Her mother agrees. The call is set for Sunday. She hangs up and sits in the quiet of her apartment, heart pounding, the weight of 18 months of guilt finally beginning to lift. Not disappearing, but redistributing. It was never hers to carry. But there is something she has not told her mother. Something Sam told her near the end of their call. Something she has been holding in her teeth, waiting for the right moment to release it.
Lydia has a new close friend, a woman named Elise. They've been inseparable for almost a year. Elise posts photos of them together constantly, calls Lydia the sister she always wished she had. And according to the timeline Sam has assembled, Elise is now approximately 2 months away from the moment Lydia typically decides someone has failed her. She has been wondering what to do with this information, whether to warn Elise, whether Elise would even believe her. Lydia has already gotten there first. She is sure of it. The groundwork is already laid. The narrative is already seated. Any warning she sends will sound like the bitter ravings of an estranged sibling. But Sam had an idea. A different approach, something he has been waiting years to try. And when he told her what it was, she realized that the next move was not about telling Elise anything. The next move was about making sure Elise saw it for herself. Sunday arrives like a held breath. The family video call connects one by one, her mother first, face tight with the particular exhaustion of someone who has not slept well since Thursday. Then her father, who has clearly been briefed, his usual jovial deflection nowhere in sight. Her younger brother Marcus dials in from his apartment in Chicago, confused about the urgency, still operating under the assumption that this is about the Thanksgiving fight. Then Aunt Celeste, the one whose opinion her mother cares about most. Then Uncle Roy, who has always been quietly suspicious of Lydia but never had the framework to articulate why. She does not invite Lydia. That is the point. She presents it the way Sam presented it to her. Names first, no conclusions, just the raw architecture of 15 stories laid side by side. Priya and Chloe, Yara and Dante, Miriam the cousin who, as it turns out, has been waiting 11 years for someone in this family to ask her directly what happened. Uncle Roy leans forward and says, "I knew it," under his breath, and the sound of it cracks something open in the room. Then the dates, the pattern rendered visible in chronology. 2 years of closeness, sometimes less, a single boundary, a single moment of not fully endorsing Lydia's version of reality. And then the quiet, devastating machinery of erasure. The planted stories, the poisoned networks, the isolation so complete that each target believed they were the only one. She shows them the forwarded thread. Sam's name is met with initial resistance, she expected that, but her mother steps in. Her mother, who has now had 4 days to sit with the truth, says, "He's not what she told us. None of them are." And the resistance dissolves. Marcus is the one who asks the question that shifts everything. So what does she do now? Like currently, who is she doing this to right now? She tells them about Elise, the new best friend, the clock ticking. And then she tells them Sam's plan. It is not a confrontation. It is not an intervention. Sam has been waiting years to deploy this, waiting for the right moment and the right ally inside the family. What he has built, quietly and methodically, is a document. A single, navigable, carefully organized document containing every story, every timeline, every piece of corroboration. Yara's emails, Chloe's termination letter, the texts Lydia sent to mutual friends about Priya before Priya even knew she had been marked. Screenshots, dates, the precise language Lydia uses across every discard, phrases that repeat so consistently they look like signatures. He is not going to send it to Elise. That would be too easy to dismiss. Too easy for Lydia to reframe as a coordinated attack by bitter ex-people. Instead, Sam is going to make sure Elise finds it on her own. The document will be posted in a place where someone like Elise, educated, curious, invested in understanding the woman she has made her closest friend, will eventually look. Sam has timed it. By his calculations, based on Lydia's pattern with every close relationship she has ever had, Elise is now entering the danger zone. The moment where the closeness peaks. The moment where Elise will inevitably, unknowingly, fail some test she does not know she is taking. When she does, Lydia will begin the work of erasing her. And Elise, confused, devastated, searching for answers, will start looking for explanations. She will Google Lydia's name alongside words like friendship breakup or suddenly cut off. She will search for anything that makes the chaos make sense. And she will find the document. 15 stories, 11 years. The evidence of a system so consistent it is indistinguishable from a playbook. She won't believe it at first, Sam had told her. No one does. But she'll read it, and something will stick. A phrase, a detail. Something that matches her own experience so precisely that she can't dismiss it. And then she'll call me. They always call.
This is the genius of it. Sam is not trying to save Elise from being discarded.
He is trying to make sure that when the discard happens, Elise does not spend months or years believing she was the problem. He is collapsing the timeline between rupture and recognition. And Elise, armed with the full picture, will have a choice. She can confront Lydia directly. She can warn the next person. She can simply walk away with her sanity intact and let the truth sit in her chest like a stone that finally belongs to someone else. But there is something else, something Sam has not said out loud, but she can feel it humming underneath the strategy. The document is not just for Elise. It is the weapon Sam has been building since his divorce, and once it is live, once it is findable by anyone who goes looking, Lydia's system loses its primary advantage: the darkness, the isolation, the ability to tell 15 different versions of the same story without anyone comparing notes. Because anyone who Googles Lydia's name with the right questions will find the answers. Every future friend, every future partner, every future business associate who feels that first chill of inexplicable discard will land on a page that says, "You are not the first. You are not crazy. Here is the pattern. Here are the names. Call us." The family call ends with a plan. Her mother will say nothing to Lydia. No one will. The document goes live on Wednesday. Elise's clock is already ticking. But in the quiet after everyone disconnects, her face still staring back at itself in the black mirror of her laptop screen, she thinks about the things Sam did not say. 15 people. 11 years. And not one of them ever compared notes until Sam started doing it for them. What does that say about how effective Lydia's system really is? What does that say about how many more people might be out there, still carrying the guilt, still unreachable? And the question that coils in her stomach, cold and insistent, is not about Elise. It is not about Sam. It is not even about Lydia. It is about what happens when Lydia realizes the document exists. When she understands that the stories have finally been assembled. When the weapon she has wielded for over a decade is turned around and aimed directly at the one thing she has never had to face: the truth, with receipts and a searchable index. Because Lydia has never had to account for the full picture. She has only ever had to manage fragments, one person at a time, one story at a time, one erasure at a time. The fragments are manageable. The full picture is not. And the full picture is about to go public. Wednesday arrives without ceremony. Sam sends her a single text at 9:14 in the morning. It's done. She does not look at the document right away. She is almost superstitious about it, as if her opening it might somehow alert Lydia, might trigger some unseen tripwire in the system her sister has spent years perfecting. Instead, she goes to work. She answers emails. She drinks her coffee while it's still hot. She performs normalcy with the focus of someone who knows normalcy is about to become much harder to access. At noon, her phone buzzes. Her mother. "Your sister is calling everyone." The document has not been live for 3 hours. But Lydia knows. Of course she knows. Someone in her orbit, a mutual friend, an acquaintance who recognized the names, someone Sam couldn't have predicted, saw it and sent it to her. What is she saying? That you're behind it. That Sam put you up to it. That it's a coordinated attack by her abusive ex-husband and her jealous sister. Her mother's voice is steady, but there is something underneath it she hasn't heard before. Certainty. "I told her I've seen the evidence. I told her I've spoken to Miriam." Silence on the line. What did she say? She hung up. She sits with that. Lydia hung up on their mother. The one person whose opinion Lydia has always been careful to manage. The one relationship she could never fully afford to lose. And now that relationship has shifted. Not broken, but realigned. Their mother has seen the full picture. Their mother has chosen. The calls from relatives begin within the hour. Aunt Celeste wants the document link. Uncle Roy has already read it and wants to talk about Miriam. Wants to apologize for not asking her directly 11 years ago. Marcus texts her 5 words. "I believe you. I'm sorry."
The family is not healing. That is too neat a word. But the family is looking at the same picture for the first time. The fragments have been assembled, and Lydia, for all her skill, cannot unmake what 15 people have now seen. She thinks about Elise. She doesn't know if Elise has found the document yet. She may not for weeks. She may not until the exact moment Lydia decides Elise has failed her. But the document will be there, waiting. And when Elise finds it, when she reads the names and the dates and the phrases she will recognize from her own friendship, the machinery will stop. For Elise, at least, the machinery will stop. Sam calls that evening. His voice is different, lighter. "She's already tried to get it taken down," he says. 3 different reports: defamation, harassment, privacy violations, all of them rejected. Everything in the document is true. Everything is corroborated. "How do you feel?" The pause is long. When he speaks again, the lightness is gone, replaced by something quieter, something that has been waiting years to be said. "I feel like I can stop now." This is the thing she will carry longest from this experience. Not the guilt. That has finally dissolved, redistributed to its proper source. Not the anger. That will fade, or change shape, or become something less consuming. It is Sam's voice saying, "I feel like I can stop now." The exhaustion of a man who spent years building a map of his own destruction because no one else would believe him. The quiet relief of someone who has finally been believed. 15 people, 11 years, and the only thing required for the system to continue was silence. The silence of the targets, too ashamed to compare notes. The silence of the family, too uncomfortable to ask questions. The silence of everyone who heard Lydia's stories and nodded along and never once thought to call the other side. She thinks about the version of herself that existed before Sam's message. The woman who sat alone in her living room with a stone of guilt in her pocket, replaying a fight that was never a fight, apologizing into a void that was never going to answer. She wants to reach back through time and tell that woman something. Not, "It wasn't your fault." That's too simple. Something closer to, "The story you have been told about yourself is not the only story. Someone else wrote it. You are allowed to read the original. The document is live. The receipts are public." And Hanni? Hanni has been watching this whole thing unfold with the particular attention of someone who knows that patterns like Lydia's do not announce themselves. They hide inside charm, inside intensity, inside the version of closeness that feels like being chosen, right up until the moment it feels like being erased. And here is what I need you to hold on to. Not everyone who cuts you off is a Lydia. Not every friendship that ends is part of a system. Sometimes people drift. Sometimes relationships genuinely break. Sometimes you really did say the thing they say you said. But if you have been carrying a stone of guilt for months or years, and you cannot fully explain what you did to earn it, if the story you were told about yourself doesn't quite match the person you know yourself to be, if you were cut off after a single moment of not fully endorsing someone's version of reality, ask the question. Find the others. Compare notes. Because people always show you who they are. wettedy just slows it down enough for you to see it. And now, before you go, if you've been sitting on a story that reminds you of this one, I want you to drop it in the comments. Specifically, I want to know, what was the single moment you now realize was the test, not the crime? That one pushback, that one boundary, that one time you didn't fully agree. I read every single one. If this is your first time here, welcome. Hit subscribe and stay a while. We do this every week. We slow down the moments that felt like your fault and figure out whose fault they actually were. And if you're ready for the next one, there's a story on your screen right now about a woman who found one text that explained 7 years of her marriage. I think you're going to need to see it. I'm Hanni. This is wettedy. I'll see you in the next one.